All right, guys, good morning. What is going on? Welcome to the Pre-Market Live. It is Friday, January 6th, guys. We are completing our first week of 2023. I hope you guys have all had a fantastic week so far. I know it's been a great start to the month for myself personally and the year personally for me. And I really could not be happier with the consistency thus far. I want to welcome everyone to the Pre-Market Live. If you are new and this is your first time watching the Pre-Market Live, welcome. This is the time of the morning where I'm going to go over my top watch list focus setups for the day ahead, guys. And it is Friday, and we have some employment data that we just got, and therefore we are seeing the market react accordingly. We have the S&P 500 up 0.9%, so just 1/10 under 1%. We have the Qs up a little bit over 1%, I believe, or they were. They are now up 0.7%. So we've got the market definitely gapping up a little bit here, guys. However, I will say we saw unemployment still at 3.5%, guys. I really think that there was, I think some ways that you could look at that report as a positive. However, coming into this morning, I actually am going to be kind of taking, if you want to call, not a firm bias, but an outlook into the day ahead, right? We are popping into, we touched 384 pre-market high here on the S&P 500, guys, after flushing down to 378.43. Why is this not a surprise? Well, this is inside the daily range that we have been trading in. This is not a surprise, or should not be a surprise to you at this point, guys. We've been talking about this for, a long time, right? We've been talking about this for 15 days. We're on day 14 here inside basically a $5 range between 380 and 385. And therefore, we are seeing this range continue to compress. And eventually, this is going to result in a range break, right? And once the range does break, I will be more inclined to go heavy on setups. If you have noticed, the past few days I've been using very small size, been taking small wins, been very content with between 0.7 and 1% on the account growth per day, and then kind of being done. That is my game plan right now. I am shooting for small wins, base hits, and just taking advantage of the action that is in front of me. That is what is required in a market like this. We are not seeing $7, $8, $9, $10 moves, right, within a 2-day span or even a day span, right? We're seeing really, really tight range, guys, really compressing between this 379 and 384 range. We have tested the top of that kind of intermediate range, as of late, right? There were the 2 days prior where we did test up to 386. However, 384.27 is kind of that key level that I'm going to be paying attention to on the SPY daily. We tested 384 in pre-market, and now we have since, like I said, started to come down a bit off that 384 area. And I think that you're kind of seeing a little bit of weakness in the tape. This is not portrayed to me as a strong gap up. Not seeing a lot of leadership in pre-market. For example, a name like Netflix, right, has been one of the strongest names. It's only up 1%, and it didn't really even, it kind of failed to take out that high right at that 314 area from yesterday. So going into today, guys, my top focus is going to be very simple and pretty straightforward. My top focus is going to be the NVIDIA 140 puts for next week. Why is NVIDIA going to be my top focus? Well, Samsung had some news last night that they kind of displayed a serious decline in demand, right? And I think that Samsung news is kind of being overlooked. I mentioned it and I posted it on the private Twitter last night alongside my, chart and kind of levels that I was going to be looking at for NVIDIA. And I think that NVIDIA already being one of the weakest names, definitely some, I think fundamental concern behind that demand is out there. And this is going to be my top focus setup. I was really hoping we would stick up here into this 145 range into the open, because if you saw my tweet last night about my top focus setup for today, which you can always see on the private Twitter every single night before the open the next day, I said that I would be looking to fade any test at the top of this hourly range towards 145.47, right? And look at where we hit almost to a T right at that 145.47 level. This is a great example of a stock behaving and respecting its levels accordingly, right? When a stock is behaving like this, it is automatically going to be something that I enjoy trading. And because of that fact, NVIDIA is going to be a top focus setup for me going into today. Now, why is that? Well, because we are testing the top of this hourly range, I really think that we are probably going to test the bottom of this range, because that's the market that we're in right now, right? So I'd be looking for a move down towards that 141.30 level. And really, I think that's where the larger scale breakdown occurs. This is the NVIDIA daily chart, guys. If you inverse this chart, it looks extremely bullish, right? But we are not, unfortunately, or I guess unfortunately for bulls, inversing this chart. This is a really, really nice bear setup. Good sell volume yesterday, and I really think that once we get this move under this 141 level, that we should see a retest of the 138.84 range. and then possibly a really nice move below because there's a lot of room here, guys. And there's not a ton of support in this range. This is a pretty much barren wasteland. If you go back here and look through all of October, we had a lot of price action, not like this area, right? Especially under 140. So that 140 area, yes, it's going to be a strong area of support. However, I do think that if we're going to see, names display relative weakness, this is a good one to watch. Tesla is part of the reason that I do like the NVIDIA short side setup into today. These names kind of follow each other. Tesla making a new 52-week low in pre-market. So I'm going to keep this one on watch. However, like I said, I don't chase, 6.4, 6.5% gap downs. This was due to those price cuts in China. It did see a bounce off the 100 level, but if this continues to stay heavy today, I think that NVIDIA and some of those other names can stay heavy as well. So again, that's going to be a watch for me as well, guys. Always need to keep Tesla up because it is such a sentiment gauge. And really yesterday, guys, we saw such a weak tape towards the end of the day. If you saw, I was planning on taking an early Lotto Friday on Coinbase. I decided against taking that trade because of how weak the tape was, right? I decided, you know what, I don't want to hold these overnight. The tape has been super, super weak. And thus, what do we get, right? We're kind of got this, mini gap up. But again, not a ton of leadership. We're not seeing a ton of stocks really lead the market here in pre-market, at least, within tech, right? So again, I really think that, watching Tesla and kind of using that as a sentiment gauge towards NVIDIA is going to be a focus for me. As always, guys, this is going to be a wait and see type of day, but it is Friday. The week has already been perfect so far. I did take a loss on Mara Commons that I thought had a decent chance to make a move overnight. They had some good news yesterday about reducing exposure towards Silvergate. I tried some Commons there. I took a 2% loss this morning. So outside of that, it's been a perfect week, in terms of, trade-wise. So again, I'm really happy about that. Fridays are generally more defensive for me. However, I do think a lot of people are coming into this type of day with a really defensive approach and are really, really, kind of shying away from wanting to touch things, especially after a gap up. So sometimes those are the days you end up getting the big move or the range break or whatever you want to call it, right? And I think, we're in that kind of stretch where, I've seen a lot of people kind of saying and a lot of time frame signaling, you get these 2 weeks inside of a range like this, you really start to see some compression to the point where the range does break, right? So again, guys, like I said, I think that we could see a possible move here, to the downside. And again, I think we're at least going to test the bottom of that range on NVIDIA. So that's going to be my top watch this morning. If we are going to focus on a long side setup, so say we see the market really, really get a bit under it and really, blow some people out today. I hate to sound like a broken record, but I'm probably going to stick with the name that's been the strongest and that's been the best trader, right, which has been Netflix. So if we see the market maintain a ton of strength, I do think that Netflix could see a pretty serious move over the 314 level. But I will tell you what worries me about Netflix was a lot of this selling, right? Clearly you had some serious supply in this area because look at these wicks, right? A lot of selling in this level, guys, into the 311 to 314. They sold that every single time yesterday, right? And so I think that's important to note, and it's something that I always talk about, but notable candle structure is so important right now, guys. And again, noting where sellers come in is just ultra important to your focus setup for the day ahead. And again, something like Netflix, it just means that I'm not going to size heavy if I'm looking to, take ads in that range. The only area that I could consider Netflix being a decent long would be maybe a test of this 306.60 area. If we saw a test of 307, right, 306.60, that would be an interesting risk to reward long for me. However, I think that would be, a pretty substantial move down across in order to see that, right? Netflix pretty much just kind of sideways yesterday after that initial move up. So again, that was a good example of very little leadership. So again, on the S&P 500, guys, we all know what the key level is here, right? That 375 area has been really important, and it has proved to be support kind of each time, especially into 377, right? This was the big fake out day. I guess that was right after Christmas. Yeah, on the 28th, we broke down, closed below, gapped right back up, right? But we've seen a lot of resistance. Same thing with that day. We stalled out around 384.27. That's why I'm going to be paying attention to that level, which we just touched in pre-market and have since pulled back off of, right? So again, playing puts after rejections at prior support or, at former and still resistance, always a decent motto for me during this market environment. And I know, guys, I probably sound like a broken record on these pre-market lives, but that is kind of, the plan right now is just the two names that are working because they're trading well, respecting levels well, and I feel really, really comfortable in them. So I stick to that, and I just try to, keep going, keep pounding right now. And then once the range breaks, once we really see the market open up, then it's time to size up and take advantage. But again, going into today, guys, NVIDIA is going to be my top focus setup here as we head into the open. Currently trading 144. I love the downside odds at 145 if we see sellers in. So just quickly want to demonstrate again, I'm going to be looking for large selling in this area between 145 and 145.47. If we get above this range convincingly, I won't touch until 147. And that's the, kind of really, really big area where I think we could see some serious pressure. So again, I'm going to be watching closely here, but I'm planning and looking at the 140 puts for next week on NVIDIA. That's going to be my setup for today. And I will see you guys on the Discord live trading. Head over to the Discord, left-hand side, hit live trading, and I'll see you there in about 1 minute. Peace. Happy Friday, guys.